Feted and praised, patted and gripped, President Zelenskyy looked like a man being welcomed into the club. But he's still outside NATO, waiting, though more patiently than he sounded yesterday.
We can state that the results of the summit are good, but should we receive an invitation, they would be the optimum. Ukraine cannot be a member nation to NATO as long as the war continues on our territory. This is absolutely clear, but those signals are important.
The signals were that Ukraine would become a member when there was peace, he said. The NATO Secretary-General kept it vaguer.
Today we meet as equals. I look forward to the day we meet as allies.
President Zelenskyy leaves Vilnius with a shopping trolley loaded with security guarantees from NATO's richest countries and pledges of future equipment. He was keen to hear NATO answer when F-16 jets might actually arrive.
Do you expect NATO nations to be able to provide the F-16s that President Zelenskyy has been requesting?
About F-16, it's also to me. You addressed to me a question, or to you? F-16, no. Answer, please.
Vladimir and I shouldn't be so familiar. Mr. Zelenskyy and I talked about the kind of guarantees we could make in the meantime.
After skipping the leaders' dinner and the morning talks, President Biden attended a G7 pledge meeting for Ukraine and then held a lengthy bilateral with President Zelenskyy, discussing what support he'd get in the time before Ukraine joins NATO. In an off-camera briefing at the summit, the Defence Secretary Ben Wallace said he thought the US election cycle was influencing American nervousness over the NATO-Ukraine offer. He also said that he'd told President Zelenskyy his relentless demands for weaponry couldn't always be met. He wasn't like Amazon. He also said he'd told him more gratitude might be helpful. Only recently, the British government had been floating the idea of Ben Wallace for the highly sensitive job of NATO Secretary-General. But the NATO partners declined the offer of his services. At a fringe meeting, a Ukrainian anti-corruption campaigner challenged President Biden's national security advisor.
What should I tell my son? That President Biden and NATO didn't invite Ukraine to NATO because he's afraid of Russia?
Some of what you said in your remarks about motives, I think, was entirely unfounded and unjustified. The president said, quite simply, that he's not prepared to have Ukraine in NATO now because it would mean that the United States and NATO would be at war with Russia now.
President Zelenskyy attended the inaugural meeting of the NATO-Ukraine Council, where Ukraine meets the military alliance as an equal. No one mentioned that Russia was given the same red carpet treatment 2 decades ago, when the West's leaders thought President Putin could be wooed.
Поэтому предлагаю с этого момента штаб-квартиру НАТО переименовать в Дом Советов. Думаю, что это неплохое предложение.
I will declare that to be a joke.
Rishi Sunak asked for some time alone with President Zelenskyy.
Actually, you guys leave us to it, shall we? Should we just spend some time alone? Yeah, and then we'll chat.
We
do that.
Okay, we'll be two.
We'll be two, President Zelenskyy replied. The Prime Minister later rejected Ben Wallace's suggestion that the Ukrainian leader needed to show more gratitude for the military help his country receives. Rishi Sunak said this would be seen as a landmark summit where, on former Soviet soil, NATO refocused on preventing new Russian aggression, while Ukraine continues to try to force back Russia off its territory. Gary Gibbon, Channel 4 News, at the NATO summit in Vilnius.